Hello viewers, myself is Dr. Neeta and you are watching my channel Learn Literature with Dr. Neeta. So let us begin today's topic.
Hello dear students, today we would learn about different prose devices like theme, point of view, imagery, use of language, sentence pattern, tone, mood, etc. But at present we are going to discuss about the theme. So now the question arises, what is theme? In Hindi, theme is called the Vishay Vastu. In fact, it is the central thought or the central idea of the poem or a novel or a short story or a play. So theme is the main or the central idea of any short story or play. The story is woven around it with other elements like plot, character, language, etc. So as all of you know that prose is having a number of elements like plot, character, story, language, etc. But the theme is that part around which all these elements have been woven together by the writer. It is an underlying message. Underlying message, it means the message which has been given by the author, the central idea or the central thought which has been given by the author is not directly uttered by him. It has not been said directly by the author anywhere, either in the play or in the short story. Rather, it remains underlying. It means it remains hidden. It remains embedded in the story. And when the reader goes through that story, he comes to know about that central thought, or you may call it a theme. It could be expressed in one or two words or a phrase. So that the central thought or the theme could be explained or could be expressed in one or two words. It is the chief attraction of the story. As all of you know that the story has a number of elements. As I told you previously, that a story is having a plot, it is having a character, and a number of characters are there. It is having a setting, it is having a language, but each and everything has been put in certain manner so that the theme may be projected. And it is the chief attraction of the story. For example, you can understand this thing like that you have seen a number of TV serials, and these serials are also having a plot element, and they are also having a story, and they are also having a number of characters. But these serials are having a message to convey to the audience under it. And basically, the TV serials that are very famous definitely have certain message under their presentation, and this message is the chief attraction. Same is the case with the short stories. The message which they convey is the chief attraction of the story. It means theme is so significant a thing that the readers read the story because it is thematically so strong. Readers are interested in the stories which are thematically strong. Readers are attracted towards the stories because they are thematically strong. So the chief attraction in any story is not in the character. It is not so much in the plot as it is in the theme of the story. It means it is a significant aspect of any story. Now the story, if it is a short story or a very short story, it may have one central theme. Or if it is a long story, or if the story is having a complicated or complex plot, then it may have more than one themes. But if the story is too long, like that of a novel, that it would have multiple themes. It means a number of issues are raised in that novel, and in that case we may say that this novel or this long story which is having a complex plot and a number of characters and number of issues are raised, then we may say that this novel or this story is having a thematic complex. Now I have noted down certain examples to make you understand the theme of the different short stories that are there in your syllabus. So the first example is The Last Leaf. This is an American short story, and the theme of this short story is hope, friendship and sacrifice. And you know that it can be expressed in merely 2 or 3 words. Theme, one thing you would also like to understand, that this theme is such a thing that makes the appeal of the story universal. What happens in whole of the process? Now see, you have studied this story, The Last Leaf. Though the characters are American, the setting is American, they are speaking English language, still you are interested in that story, still the story appeals to you because of the element of the theme. Because the element of theme, that is hope, friendship and sacrifice, these are the parts of human life everywhere in the world, and so the story, in spite of its local color, is having the universal appeal, and that is why it is the chief attraction of the story. So theme is such a significant thing. There is yet another story, The Lament, and this story expresses the theme of loneliness, as it is describing the lament of a person, the sorrowful condition of a person, and he is so full of sorrow because of his loneliness, and this again happens in life of each and everyone. Yet another story is there, that is Barbers Trade Union, and untouchability and discrimination on the basis of caste is the theme of this story. So this is all about theme, and I think you would be able to understand it. And one thing is there, that when you are studying a story, how would you come to know the theme of the story? The very simple trick for that is, when you have studied a story from beginning to the end carefully, then ask a question to himself, what message the writer wants to convey to the reader? For what central issue this story has been written by the reader? What is the purpose of writing this story? And the answer that would come would definitely be the theme of the story. So the deep study of any story would make the theme clear to you. Now we would learn about another prose device, that is point of view. So first, what is point of view? Point of view is the angle or the perspective from which the story is written. So what is the angle or the perspective? It means, to understand it, I am just giving you an example, that for example, there is an accident on the road, and that accident has been shown by a number of persons, Mr. A, Mr. B, Miss C, and the person who has undergone the accident is also there, who has seen what has happened to him. And what happens at such a time, police comes and investigates what is the cause of the accident. He asks Mr. A, Mr. B, Miss C, and he also asks the person about the cause of accident. What happens? Everyone is telling his or her own angle. Everyone is telling his or her own perspective regarding the accident. For example, Mr. A is saying that the scooter driver was coming rushingly towards the place, that is why he has hit that corner of the road and he has got the accident. Mr. B is saying that he was trying to save the pig on the road, that is why he met the accident. Miss C is saying that he was a drunkard and he was in such a state that he has taken a lot of liquor, that is why he has met an accident. And the person who himself is involved in the accident, when police ask him what is the cause of the accident, he tells perhaps some other cause. In this way, the accident is one, but the angle of seeing it has been seen by A in a different perspective, by B in yet another perspective, by C in yet another perspective. It means the same thing can be seen from the different perspectives or different angles, and these angles and perspectives are known as points of view. So, point of view depends on the person who is looking at the accident and what explanation he is giving to the accident. Similarly, in the stories, who is telling the story? This question is very significant, because when we come to know that this is the person who is telling the story, then this is the point of view of this person. So now the question is that you should keep your mind intact on the fact that who is narrating the story. Whether it is the first person, I, me, or my, such kind of adjectives are used, then it means first person. Or the story is narrated by the second person. Second person, it means you, your, such kind of adjectives are, pronouns are used, then it is second person. And if it is the third person, then the pronouns like he, she, they have been used. It means it is the third person narrative. So you can come to know just after reading the story whether it is the first person. If the pronouns like I, me, my, mine, our, we, etc. are used, it means it is first person narrative. If the pronoun like you, your, yours are used, it means it is the second person narrative. And if the pronouns like he, she, they, their, etc. are used, then it means the third person narrative. Then if the person himself is involved and he is telling the story, it means it is the first person's perspective. For example, in the story The Terror and the Barbers' Trade Union, the author himself is involved and the author himself is telling the story. So this is the most convincing type of stories, and readers easily believe because the first person is telling the thing. And now the second person, such kind of stories are very rare, because second person narration is very hard to handle, and that is why, because it is very difficult to think about what is going on in reader's mind or in another person's mind. But the third person narrative is very common, because in that condition the writer is not telling the story, but the story is told by someone else who is not the character of the story. Now, when someone else is telling the story who is not the character of the story, then he has got the power like that of a god. He becomes omniscient. He can look into each and every character. He can read the mind of each and every character very easily, and he can express what is going on in the mind of one person or the another person, and the story moves forward. And that is why this kind of point of view which is projected in this story is of a very broader perspective, and it has the flexibility, because the writer may shift the story from one to another and then to another person. So this is the most common type of narration, in which we come to know the points of view of the different characters. In the first person narrative, we come to know the point of view of the author, as you have seen in the story The Terror and the Barbers' Trade Union, what the author thinks that has been projected in the story. But as far as the third person is concerned, there is the example, The Last Leaf Games at the Twilight, another story. The Last Leaf story has been told by the third person narrative, who is not the part of the story. He is talking about the painter, he is talking about the girls, he is talking about the atmosphere, because he is merely observing the thing and the things are happening around him. So he has got the opportunity to dive very deep into each and every character. And for example, you should understand this point of view from The Last Leaf, because it is the third person narrative. You know what is the condition of the girl who is sick. You know what is the attitude of the painter, old painter. You know what is the attitude of the neighbors. You know what is the attitude of her friend. And who is telling you? A person who is observing all these characters. So this is the most flexible kind of point of view, because in this story we come to know the points of view of the different characters. But in this, in the first person narrative, we are not coming to know the points of view of the different character, because the person himself is telling the story. For example, the terror. The person himself is telling the story because he is under the terror at this time. And in that case, you come to know only the point of view of the writer. And second person narrative, what is the point of view of the reader? It is the hardest one to handle, and that is why no example has been given here. So most commonly the first person and third person point of view can be seen in the stories that are in your syllabus. I think the things are clear in your mind and you have understood both theme and point of view. So thanks for patience listening.